first game of the season for the Auburn Tigers. Students at this Alabama university in the Deep South returning after the summer break. There's a party atmosphere as all generations come together for some traditional tailgating. This is what they refer to as the Auburn family. Early this year, a very different scene. Confrontation and conflict on campus when far-right leader Richard Spencer turned up here.
A new world of power, a new world that's going to express what is in our soul.
We'd come to Auburn as it's one of the universities now being targeted by far-right provocateurs who stand accused of manipulating the concept of free speech as a way to spread their divisive message.
Not that black cloud that hangs over all of us, that black cloud of pain and sin and weakness.
At the time of Spencer's visit, a website appeared under the banner of the White Students' Union. Its segregationist message deeply provocative in a part of America scarred by deep racial divisions. Far-right is accused of stirring conflict on campus by using freedom of speech as a shield. I wanted to know what students, past and present, made of the issue.
Do you think that's something that they should have? There should be a formal white students' union? Should they be entitled to create?
Well, is there a black student union?
There's this black student union, there's a Muslim student union, there's a Hispanic student, there's an Asian. Yes, then the whites should be as well.
They should be entitled to form their own.
I think so, yes.
Just because we're white, we should not just step aside and let anybody take over everything for us. I mean, we have rights too.
Do you think there should be a white students' union that talks about segregation?
I don't think so. I think every single person on this earth was made to be the person that they are every single day, and I don't think there should be any segregation, separation,
But that's what the group believes in. They believe in segregation and protecting whites and white culture.
So, and if they believe that, they have freedom of speech to believe that way, but I don't think them as themselves should approach other people and force them to be a part of it.
The game gets underway. The Tigers cheered on by their fanatical supporters. Auburn's 88,000-seater stadium, bigger than any in the English Premier League. Many students are the kids of Alabama's wealthy elite. Less than 7% are African American, a ratio out of kilter with Alabama as a whole. Some students want to make this campus whiter still. We tracked down a student who described himself as the president of the White Students' Union. He wouldn't give his name nor face the camera, but he was not shy to air his offensive views.
This country is so divided, it cannot continue as it is. The humane thing is to split it up.
The inflammatory leaflets he posts around the campus shows how he favors separating different ethnic groups.
But yeah, let's take a look at another one. How about announcing a friendly divorce for white conservatives who need safety from globalists, from bankers, from Islamism.
And then here you have a picture of Orthodox Jews.
Muslims and black
Muslims.
people. Yeah, and all of these are good, happy people. We're not trying to say, oh, these are evil devils. We're just saying, hey, we're different. We want to be in our own community.
And then you have your logo next to happy-looking
white people. Yeah.
He says the group has just 10 members, but feels emboldened by President Trump.
Make America Great resonated primarily with white people.
But that's the message you're trying to drip into people's
Sure,
minds.
why not? We're facing the very death of our race. That is what's pushing conflict here.
But on campus, it's the White Students' Union that stands accused of pushing conflict through its inflammatory leafleting. We went to meet a student who's been documenting growing far-right activities on campus.
And then here they changed the F to G, so it says Goy-ha instead of Foy-ha.
The word Goy means non-Jew, and its use here was clearly racially tinged. The White Students' Union leaflets carried disturbing anti-Semitic and racist messages.
Well, yeah, so students have to go to class or you're walking across campus and see messages. As you can imagine, for anyone, it
It's not a great feeling to know that folks think that the world would be a better place if people like you were not in it.
Even though the White Students' Union is a fringe group, they're seeking approval as an official student body. And they say they already have some support.
I do know 2 different professors who are willing to hear me out, who are willing to discuss my views, and who probably share some things in common.
And he warns there'll be consequences if the university tries to block him.
We don't want to burn bridges, but if people think that they can ignore us, then they may have another thing coming, as they say.
When Spencer came to Auburn in April, there were violent scenes. Though contained, they were still a shock for the campus. His supporters clashed with anti-fascist protesters known as Antifa.
Now you can ask them, oh, what do you think of Richard Spencer or the alt-right or identitarianism? Oh, it's terrible, it's racist. But they're voting with their feet. I didn't bring thousands of people. They're voting with their feet. They love it.
I wanted to ask Spencer about his apparent tactics of instigating violence at universities in a campaign to undermine multicultural liberal institutions.
No one identifies with the word racist.
He claims it's the intolerant radical left that's using violence to stop them airing their views. There were violent scenes at the campus. Students said they'd never seen scenes like that before.
The Antifa.
What right do you have to do that? No, people from your side, your supporters, who identified as your supporters.
They're defending themselves against the violent Antifa.
But that's always very convenient to say they're always defending themselves.
What right?
If they,
I'll answer that question.
Triggered the violence.
I'll answer the question, what right do I have? That is a public space. As a citizen of the country,
so it's your right to be there, to provoke people.
I'm a citizen.
Have your supporters commit violent acts.
They don't commit violent acts. They defend themselves.
It's on video. It's there. The racist, anti-Semitic language, disturbing Nazi overtones. You understand it's deeply offensive to a lot of Americans, the vast majority of Americans.
I'm sure a lot of people are going to be offended by what I say. I don't care. But I care about things that are right and that are true.
But there's a responsibility with that, isn't there?
No,
you can't then separate yourself off from the violent reaction of people.
I have zero responsibility to care about whether someone's offended or not.
Spencer was a key organizer of a Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville in August, ostensibly a protest against removing a Confederate statue. Clashes erupted with Antifa counter-protesters. They were enraged when neo-Nazis gave Heil Trump salutes. A young counter-protester was later killed and many more injured in scenes that shocked America. Trump's equivocal response in blaming many sides was widely vilified.
We condemn this egregious display of hatred, bigotry, and violence on many sides. On many sides.
You will not replace us.
At a university in Charlottesville, several students were among those hurling anti-Semitic and racist abuse.
White lives matter! White lives matter! White lives matter!
Some were later identified as official college Republican members. Also in Charlottesville, this young Republican, a big fan of President Trump, Nicholas Fuentes, has his own YouTube channel.
It doesn't matter how you get the points, it just matters that you get the points. And the loser dies. The loser is exterminated. Once they get to a point where the black team gets a huge lead, black team just kills white team. And that's basically the world we're living in. I don't have to spell out the analogy, but that's basically it.
Next stop for Fuentes, Auburn University. He says he's transferring from Boston University to the Alabama campus after receiving death threats. And he's already been in touch with the White Students' Union at Auburn.
The college campus is a fertile ground to have these conversations because you have a lot of young people who are very charged up, who have a lot of conviction in their beliefs, and I think it's a perfect place to have this discussion.
For me, it's this heavy, just weight that you feel when you realize, wow, there are people that hate me for no reason, or there are people that hate me because of the color of my skin.
For some students, the far right's targeting of their campus has disturbing implications. When Spencer came here, what was the general reaction among black students that you spoke to or that you saw?
People were uneasy. People were angry. People were confused about why this is even happening.
And the Auburn authorities are torn over how to balance freedom of speech with the rights of their students.
The Academy holds freedom of speech as a pretty high value. At the same time, we hold diversity and inclusion as well as the safety of our campus community in high regard as well.
And here lies the dilemma. How should universities react or indeed intervene when the far right is seen to be hijacking freedom of speech, something sacrosanct in American society? It's a dilemma made more acute when the president's stand on the far right has been so ambiguous.